Hi, I'm Jeff. Welcome back to the shop. So I got a new pair of binoculars recently, and these are a nice compact 10 power, I believe. Yeah, 10 power binoculars I got from Bushnell. I'm lucky to live near an outlet where I can get these things at a pretty decent discount. And they seem to be pretty nice so far, but the strap that came with them is pretty junky, pretty cheap. So I'd like to adapt something better to use with these. I've got this, and this is actually a rifle sling. It's Israeli. And I have adapted this to work with quick disconnect push-button sling mounts. Now what I would like to do is use this for things such as the binoculars and maybe even this camera right here when I have it off the tripod. So I'm going to adapt these little guys, these quick disconnect cups, with some 1/2-inch aluminum, and then tie that to some mounts with this. This is shock cord. It's elastic. So let's work it out.
Now I'm just working off the end of a piece of 1/2-inch aluminum rod here, and we're gonna face it off so we can center and then tap drill it for a 10 by 24 tap. With that done, we can take a quick cleanup pass on the outside to kind of kick off that aluminum mill scale, and then we can mark for just a couple of nice grooves here. These are entirely just for show, just to kind of match the grooves that are already in the QD cup. And I'm just basically plunging with my turning tool, and not even adjusting it at all. The last part of this operation is to part it off, and here I'm using the back end of my tool to put chamfer during the part. Although, with later versions of this, I ended up just putting that chamfer in on the second operation, which was already necessary because there's a tip left from the parting process that I was going to have to turn off anyway. So, with other parts, I decided to just put that chamfer in when I'm cutting that tip off. Now, I repeated this multiple times for every part. And then after the lathe operation, I brought it over to my spin index here in the mill. And after some kind of trial runs to figure out a good order of operations, I decided to mill the flats first. And I set my hand wheels for both center as well as a depth that I wanted to go for these flats. And I milled the flats one right after the other without having to move my Y axis on my table at all. I could just keep the cutting tool in the same place and work the part back and forth after indexing it radially. And then moving to a depth, another line that I had scribed that's a 1/2 inch from the other end of the part. And that's mostly just to keep everything even visually. With the flats in place, I can now mill the slot where the shock cord will go through, and I'm starting that by just plunging the end mill, which I know is not ideal, but this is a center cutting end mill, and it's a small hole, and it's not going very deep, and it's just aluminum. So it worked okay. When it was plunged all the way through, then I moved it half of the width of the tool, both forward and backward in the Y direction, to turn that hole into a slot that'll fit our shock cord. This went really well, and I was able to just continue this throughout the next couple of parts. I ended up making 4 in this session, 2 for my binoculars and 2 for my camera. And I was just really pleased how well I could just get into a nice groove of doing this once I had the machine set up and all of my parts and layout squared away.
Okay, here's the best two looking ones I made out of the small batch, and I'm really liking these. That came out nicely, and the mill work, I got into a good groove there, so that's pretty cool. Now, these are just the standard flush cups I've used before in other videos, or at least one video. They're from Uncle Mike's. They're really inexpensive, and they're basically the standard. I've had people ask me why I choose these over others, and honestly, these are the only ones I can find easily and cheaply. You can get a bulk pack of these from Brownells for less than $10 for like a 10-pack. I want to say it's like $5, but I also get a license discount. And then a couple of these 1024 screws. These are flatheads here. And there's actually a dish cut in the bottom of the cup here to where these actually fit in perfectly. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that's by design. And this just screws on here. Now, when this is all done, some permanent Loctite will be applied on this so that it does not come out and everything becomes nice and forever. So there's one. Okay, so here they are both together, and I've got a couple lengths of my shock cord here, my elastic cord. And the way that I'm going to do this, the length doesn't really matter. It's kind of folded over to whatever you think is, you know, going to be randy for you. And we will just put this through our loop on the binos. Like so. Bring our ends together here. Now this is how I'm thinking it's going to work. We put both ends through a little hole. Try to keep the ends as even together as possible here. I got that knot. There's a couple flyaways there. That's not perfect, but it's not going to cause a huge problem. Now for our sling cum strap. Locked on. Roll that over. And Voltron. Well, that's actually really cool. I like that. Now, the reason I went with the shock cord here is because I actually, when I'm hiking and hunting and generally outdoors with a set of binoculars, I actually like to sling these over under my arm, my left arm. I'm right-handed. They stay out of the way that way. I can put them kind of on my on the back of my hip that way, or keep them tucked up under my arm. And I've been wanting to do this for a while where I have elastics so I can keep the strap kept pretty snug to the body, but then when I pull them up to my face, I've got a little bit of give there. This strap is also handy for that because the Israelis designed it to have this little release. It gives you another 6 inches or so, maybe 8. So this should be fun. I've been wanting to do this. I got these binoculars for hunting this fall, so that's still a ways away, but I'm always thinking about going out in the field. I love it. So I really am pleased with how these came out, and I'm actually thinking of maybe making a run of these and putting them up for sale. I don't know how much for, or if there would be any interest at all. If you think that's the dumbest idea you ever heard of, or the otherwise, just leave me a message in the comments. Anyway, that's this week's project. Thank you for watching.